What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we got the prediction and breakdown for UFC 322 Ramzanovic Makhachev versus Giacomo Della Maddalena. Yes, that is their real name. If you don't believe me, go search it up. Now, my predictions are different from everybody else's because everybody else makes predictions based off what they think will happen. Me personally, I make predictions based upon what will happen. I do have some psychic ability. So let's start off with that main event. Giacomo Della Maddalena versus Ramzanovic Makhachev. Now, me personally, I am a feminist. I love women. Women deserve everything. You know, they don't get paid enough. So I believe Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili should be that main event. Okay, I believe this. Somebody clip that, send it to Dern or Grasso. But let's talk about that main event. Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. Now, Jack Della Maddalena is the champion. And I think over his past couple of fights, a lot of people have been underestimating him. But finally, people are giving him the respect that he deserves. He's a really good fighter. And over his past couple of fights, we've seen the improvements he has been making over every single one of his fights. Like his last fight against Bilal Muhammad, he kind of showcased how good his anti-grappling really is. Like all the time, Jack Della Maddalena is really smart, very IQ heavy, very reminiscent of a young Volkanovski in the fact that when he gets taken down, he's really good at using his butterfly hooks to, use his opponent's momentum against themselves to push them off. Even against Gilbert Burns, he used Gilbert Burns' momentum against Gilbert Burns to push him off. But when we look at that Bilal Muhammad fight, I think a lot of people are giving Bilal Muhammad a little bit too much respect. They're saying that, that Bilal Muhammad fight was the perfect predecessor for this Islam Makhachev fight because the tools you're using against Bilal Muhammad are the same tools you're going to be using against a guy like Islam Makhachev. But I just don't believe that to be the case because you look at Bilal Muhammad's style. What is he good at? He has good cardio, right? He has good boxing, good forward pressure, which is very different from Islam Makhachev because Islam kicks heavy, doesn't use boxing as much. He doesn't necessarily always want to be on that forward pressure. He lays back a little bit more than Bilal Muhammad. And to say that Bilal fight was a perfect predecessor for this Islam fight, I think they're misjudging this fight a little bit. But Jack Della Maddalena, you look at him, he's a great boxer, great IQ, great grappling. He doesn't have the power I want to see when you're fighting a guy like Islam Makhachev. Now, JDM does have some power. Obviously, everybody has like some level of power unless you're Bilal Muhammad. But he doesn't have an Ilia Topuria power. He doesn't have the pop that Sean O'Malley has. Jack Della Maddalena kind of has like a thud in his punch. Like his jab is a thudding jab. His two is a thudding two down the pipe, right? Like there's not much difference between either hand in terms of power. And I think you need power to beat a guy like Islam. Now, Jack Della Maddalena's game plan is very simplistic. Now, that doesn't mean simplistic won't work, but it is fairly simplistic. Like in the middle of the octagon, he's going to jab you. He's going to throw two. He might throw a calf kick, but his ultimate goal is to get you backed up to the cage so he can start teeing off on your head and on your body. And then from there, he's just going to, win a fight or accumulate a lot of damage, which is going to be able to lead to having more success in the later rounds. He also scrambles quite a lot. He's always eager, very eager to get up to his feet. And I kind of think that plays into Islam Makhachev's game, okay? And Jack Della Maddalena, we all know at this point what his anti-wrestling strategy kind of is. Like, he'll throw the jab, and a lot of guys time the jab to, like, shoot underneath the jab and take you down, but that leaves opening, especially for a guy like Islam Makhachev. Great kicks, not only head kicks, but body kicks. You look at the Volk fight, the second fight, it wasn't just the head kick. It wasn't Islam Makhachev just throwing a head kick. He was beating up Volk's body to condition him to block to the body, so then Islam could go up to the head and clip him in the head. The teeps are, I think, one of Islam Makhachev's most deadly weapons on the feet, at least. And I think because Jack Della Maddalena does change his levels to avoid takedowns off that jab, I think Islam Makhachev will have the opportunity to head kick Jack Della Maddalena. Like Jack Della Maddalena, throw a jab, change levels. Islam's going to read the jab and catch Jack Della Maddalena as he's changing levels and can clip him with that head kick. Now, when we talk about the ground game, I think Islam also has the advantage in the ground because Jack Della Maddalena is always so eager to get up to his feet, and I think he's willing to give up bad positions in order to scramble to get up to his feet because he's so deadly on the feet, right? But I think that will leave openings for Islam Makhachev to capitalize on. Like you look at Renato Moicano fight, right? Renato Moicano, you know, he tried to wrestle up to his feet after getting held on the ground. He was very eager to get up to his feet, and the moment he had an opportunity to get up to his feet, he rushed it. Islam Makhachev snapped up a Darce like nothing so quickly. I've never seen a Darce get snatched up like that so quickly, and he submitted it. I think Jack Della Maddalena will try to do this. He's going to try to go for a stand-up. He's going to try to go for a butterfly, you know, sweep or a scissor sweep or some sort of sweep, and I think Islam Makhachev is going to capitalize on that, take the back, get a submission, get into an advantageous position where he can deal real damage, maybe even get, you know, some deadly ground and pound off, which he has some deadly ground and pound. Now, I'm not saying Jack Della Maddalena can't win. Obviously, there's a chance he can win, but I feel like a lot of people are thinking about a KO for Jack Della Maddalena. I just don't think he has the power. I think Islam moving up a weight class, there's not a size discrepancy here. You know, I just think that Islam's going to show that his chin is really, really good, and it's not a bad chin at all. Now, a lot of people say that, you know, look at the Dustin Poirier fight with Islam Makhachev. Look at the Volk 1 fight. Jack Della Maddalena is going to be bigger, stronger, and a better boxer than these guys. But you look at those fights, right? Let's actually look at them. The Volk 1 fight, Islam Makhachev didn't have 36 hours to rehydrate. He only had 24 hours. In Australia, if you guys don't know, you actually have 12 less hours to rehydrate than any other place for fights. And then you look at the Dustin Poirier fight. Islam had some of the worst staph infection I've ever seen going into that Dustin Poirier fight, and he was still able to pull off the W against, you know, Dustin Poirier, who has some of the best boxing for MMA. So for this reason, I'm going to be picking my boy Islam Makhachev. I think he's going to hurt Jack Della Maddalena on the feet. I think he's going to shoot a takedown after he hurts him. I think he's going to drop him with a head kick, get on top of him, go for either a Darce or go for that arm triangle, just like he did against Charles Oliveira, where, you know, he hurt him and then he's going to get the submission. Now moving on to the co-main event between Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Weili. Now, I feel like both these women are kind of in like the same position in their career. Like Valentina Shevchenko, what does her career look like? Well, she was very dominant. Then she ran into Alexa Grasso and then she lost. She got finished and then they had a rematch. Grasso won. And then she finally got her belt back. She took on Manon Fiorot, who was the favorite, and she proved the haters wrong in that fight. And I feel like that's a direct correlation to Zhang Weili, who, you know, got finished, was dominant, got finished by Rose Namajunas, got a decision loss to Rose Namajunas, and then reclaimed her belt against Carla Esparza, and then proved the haters wrong, beating Tatiana Suarez, who was a favorite in that fight. So nearly the exact same career. Even the records, you know, 25-4-1 for Valentina Shevchenko and 26-3 for Zhang Weili. Now, Zhang Weili relies on power, strength to outmuscle her opponent. She also has great technique in takedowns and judo, pretty good striking. But I think Valentina Shevchenko is stronger and just a little bit more, you know, built for these dog fights, you know, where it's going to be a lot of outmuscling, technical ability. And I think Valentina Shevchenko is a little bit more technical on the feet. And yes, sometimes being more technical than your opponent isn't always the best. You know, like you look at Leon Edwards, probably one of the most technical strikers. He can lose to guys who are just dogfighty guys. But in this fight, I think Valentina Shevchenko is going to be able to not outmuscle Zhang Weili, but at least avoid being outmuscled by Zhang Weili. I think it's going to be a stand-up fight. And then in the stand-up, I think Valentina Shevchenko's leg kicks are going to be money for her. She's very quick with the leg kicks, very good with kicks, decent boxing. And I think Zhang Weili is going to have a hard time trying to close the distance. I think Valentina Shevchenko is very good. Manon Fiorot, I mean, look at her. She's really good. And Valentina Shevchenko did win a very close decision, but, you know, it was very clear that she won. And Manon Fiorot went on to beat, you know, Jasmine Jasudavicius and knocked her out in the first round. Whereas Zhang Weili, it's like, okay, she beat Yan Xiaonan, you know, and that was, you know, close fight. You know, Yan Xiaonan almost got submitted, so maybe Zhang Weili gassed out a lot trying to go for the submission. Nearly put her out. Remember, they had like the smelling salts coming in for that fight. But I'm going with my girl, Valentina Shevchenko. I think she'll come in with the W, and then she'll go probably, you know, hang out with her coach, who they have a weird relationship. But I move on. But I didn't say anything about her coach having a weird relationship. But that was not me. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Now, nearly exact same record. Sean Brady, 18 with 1 loss. Michael Morales, 18 with 0 losses. And I feel like if you're picking Michael Morales, you're kind of doing this how, you know, people go to these slots. Like, you put 25 cents in the slot machine and you're hoping for that $10,000. If you're betting on Michael Morales, you're putting your 25 cents in and you're betting on that KO. And Sean Brady, his grappling is probably some of the best in the entire UFC, at least submission grappling. Sometimes his takedowns are a little bit suspect, like he, you know, just runs into a guy and then he just forces them against the cage, and then that's when he does his really good work. He's a pretty solid chin. I feel against Bilal Muhammad, you know, he got destroyed. Bilal Muhammad ended up getting the TKO win, but he kind of took that performance. He said, okay, he digested it and said, you know what, we're going to come back better. He went on to submit Leon Edwards after dominating him. And I think he's just a little bit better of a fighter. He's built to be a grappler. His back is massive. He's not the biggest fighter. Michael Morales is he's going to look physically way bigger, but I don't think he's going to be. Michael Morales, you know, he beat Neil Magny and Gilbert Burns, but you look at those fights. Yes, he beat him. Yes, he finished them, but I think they quit in that fight. I think Gilbert Burns did not want to be there. I think he went in there for a paycheck, got out, and I kind of think the same with Neil Magny. Now, I'm not going to say that Neil Magny fight with Michael Morales was rigged or fixed, but if I'm the FBI, that's definitely on the list of fights I'm going to be looking into. Michael Morales, I think the question we got to ask ourselves, can he clip Sean Brady before Sean Brady gets that body lock? I think he's going to be able to clip Sean Brady, but I don't think he's going to be able to put him out. I think Sean Brady's got heart, I think he's got grit, and I think he's going to be able to, you know, not get super damaged before getting to the body lock. And I think once he takes Michael Morales down, which I think he inevitably will, it's one-sided from there. I think Sean Brady's jiu-jitsu is literally the best, one of the best in the UFC. I think the first round is going to be all Michael Morales. I think he's going to go in there, tag Sean Brady, maybe even drop him. I think Sean Brady's going to grab a hold of the body, grab a hold of a leg, you know, wobbled, and then take him down, land some ground and pound, set up a couple submissions, and then in the second round, I think Sean Brady will submit Michael Morales. Now, moving down to our boy, Leon Rocky Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Now, Carlos Prates, he hits like a truck. And, you know, he's coming off that spinning elbow KO. But before that, he lost to Ian Gary, where he nearly finished him in that 5th round. And that was a 5-round fight. So you can't take that much from it. You definitely can take some things from it, but you can't take too much from that because he paced himself for that 5-round fight. And this is a 3-round fight, so it definitely does help Carlos Prates. This guy's a smoker, so his lungs are absolutely carbonized. But he hits like a truck. His 2 down the pipe is probably one of the hardest, powerful 2s in the welterweight division. If he lands that shot, anybody gets put out cold. But does he land that shot? I don't think his setup for that shot is the best. He kind of relies on his opponents being a little bit more stationary, whereas Leon Edwards, I don't think he's a stationary target in the slightest. He relies a lot on movement. He has a weakness to boxing, like we kind of saw his boxing get exposed against Bilal Muhammad. But Leon Edwards, he can offensively grapple. Like, I think Leon Edwards is almost similar to Death Sentence in that he likes his striking, he thinks his striking is better, but his grappling is actually where his best work gets done. And to think about it, Leon Edwards is shooting shots against guys like Sean freaking Brady, shooting shots, takedowns on Bilal Muhammad. He's shooting takedowns on Colby Covington, shooting takedowns on Kamaru Usman. I think he'll shoot takedowns on Carlos Prates, because if he doesn't, he's an idiot, and we need to ban him from the sport. But Leon's chin is definitely suspect. He got wobbled by Bilal Muhammad. But Carlos Prates, I think when he's fighting guys who aren't stationary, like Ian Gary, like Leon Edwards, fighting guys who will mix in the grappling with some really good, strong, fundamental striking, like Leon, like Ian Gary, I think he starts to struggle. I think Carlos Prates is getting a little bit too much of a push, a little bit too soon. He's, you know, he knocked out Jeff Neal. He knocked out Neil Magny, another fight where it's like definitely suspect. That elbow did not land, but Carlos Prates, he kind of changes his style when he's fighting a guy who will mix it up. You know, like when he's fighting guys who only will strike, he's very confident, very technical. But the moment guys mix it up into takedowns, he just changes his style to very focus on defending takedowns. And I think Leon Edwards will take him down. I wouldn't be surprised if Carlos Prates does get the knockout. Leon is chinny, and his chin does get up in the air sometimes. You know, he got wobbled by Kamaru Usman a couple times. But I think Leon Edwards will get the win. I think he's going to win a decision, a fairly boring decision, but that's Leon Edwards' style. He is a fairly boring fighter. And I think Carlos Prates is going to keep his ranking And I just think a little bit too much too soon. I want to see him develop his grappling, or at least showcase his improvement in grappling before I pick him against a former title holder in Leon Edwards. I'm going Leon Edwards by decision. Moving down, Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, Benoit Saint-Denis is coming off a dominant submission over Marcio Ruffy. He sent that boy packing all the way back to the Mossad in Israel. Now, Benoit Saint-Denis, before he was losing, or before he was beating Marcio Ruffy, he lost to Renato Moicano. And in that fight, he got dominated from the very start of the bell to the end of that first round. His eye got absolutely obliterated. It was just Moicano just working his grappling system all over Benoit Saint-Denis' face. And I think Benoit Saint-Denis in that fight, he was kind of starting to get into the rhythm of it. I think he was almost starting to pick up speed and starting to beat Renato Moicano before that fight got stopped due to a doctor stoppage because his eyes were literally swollen. And even against Dustin Poirier, you got to remember, he had a giant staph infection in the middle of his head. He looked kind of Indian because of that staph infection, and it severely compromised his performance. But guys, when Islam Makhachev was still in the 155 division, I was always a proponent of saying that Benoit Saint-Denis is going to be the type of guy to beat Islam Makhachev just based on their style. Now, Islam's gone, but if Islam were to come down to 155, I think Benoit Saint-Denis would give him a run for his money, okay? Because you look at that Dustin Poirier fight, Benoit Saint-Denis did better than Islam in that Dustin Poirier fight. Benoit Saint-Denis has a very interesting style. It's a very good style, good decision-making. I really like Benoit Saint-Denis' body kicks, head kicks, and I love the way he sets up his takedowns based upon his kicking game, when I feel like we don't really see that all too much. I feel like a lot of guys who are wrestler-heavy, they shoot they feint the takedown, they come in with the overhand to set up that takedown. But Benoit Saint-Denis, he throws a high kick, gets guys to block that high kick, and because their hands are up high, he shoots under that and he gets the takedown. And Beneil Dariush, he looked good against Renato Moicano, but he got dropped in that first round. He grappled offensively, which I think he's kind of gone away from that game plan over recent year. He hasn't really been offensively grappling, but that might be because he's fighting guys who are better grapplers than him. But his chin is definitely suspect. The Arman Sarukian fight, even the Moicano fight where he got dropped, the Charles Oliveira fight, his chin is suspect. He used to have a really good chin, against Drew Dober. He was eating shots and just not budging at all. But I think Benoit Saint-Denis is going to be able to high kick Beneil Dariush and then shoot a takedown under that. And I think it's going to go very similar to the Charles Oliveira fight, where Charles Oliveira threw a head kick, and even though Beneil Dariush blocked that head kick, it still rocked him, and Charles Oliveira was able to get the finish on the ground. I think Benoit Saint-Denis is going to be able to do the same thing, where he's going to get that head kick. It might even get blocked, but I think he's going to rock Beneil Dariush, take him down, and get that TKO win. Now moving on to the prelims and early prelims. I will speed this up a little bit just because people care a little bit more about the main card than the prelims. But the featured prelim, we got Bo Nickel versus Rodolfo Vieira. This was originally on the main card. I believe it was opening up the main card, but a lot of people complained about it being on the opening bit of the main card, and I agree. I absolutely despised that Bo Nickel was opening up the main freaking card. Bo Nickel should have been the co-main event. I mean, everybody loves Bo Nickel. He's undefeated prospect, and Rodolfo Vieira, I mean, come on. Rodolfo Vieira is he's a fighter who deserved to be on that co-main event slot. I think this fight should have been above, Dariush and Leon and Brady. It should have been above all those fights. Should have been that co-main event, but maybe they're just trying to, rearrange the card here. Maybe that's why they put it all the way down here on the prelims. They're trying to rearrange it and then find a spot for it back on that main card. But let's talk about Bo Nickel. Right, he lost to RDR. Everybody loved seeing Bo lose to RDR. It was a very satisfying loss to see. But ever since that fight with RDR, that RDR loss has aged fairly well. Now, Bo Nickel, he's a little bit undersized for the 185 division. I think he's a little bit better suited at 170. But I rewatched some of his fights. He's actually not too bad. Against Paul Craig, a little bit of a lackluster fight. He was testing out his stand-up, didn't want to go to the ground with Paul Craig because Paul Craig has that body kick of doom, and his jiu-jitsu is some of the best. But he's very 2016-esque. I mean, he's very Chad Mendez-esque in the fact that he'll feint the takedown, go with that overhand. He'll drop levels, and he'll actually shoot that overhand or shoot that takedown. He's very decent on the ground. He has decent jiu-jitsu, decent top control, and he just had to tough out against RDR. Now, I believe he's probably made some improvements in his ground game and in his striking. I think he's going to come back a little bit stronger than what we saw in that RDR fight. He did quit in that fight, so there's a little bit of this, will he quit again? But he has some decent power, and he's able to land his shots, all being set up on that takedown because everybody's afraid of that takedown. Now, will Rodolfo Vieira be afraid of that takedown? I don't think so. I don't think Rodolfo Vieira will be afraid of that takedown. He's great jiu-jitsu, but the stand-up, I think this will be a stand-up fight, and I don't know if you guys think this will be a stand-up fight, but if this plays out on the feet, you got to ask yourself, who's the better striker? I think Bo Nickel is the better striker. Even though he's very basic, very fundamental in his striking, I just think that Bo has the better striking, and defensively, Rodolfo Vieira, suspect, super suspect, dropped bad by freaking Cody Brundage, and Bo kind of destroyed Cody Brundage, didn't get tagged at all. Bo, I think he's going to land that overhand. Rodolfo Vieira is very, very stiff. I'm trying to look at my notes here. Rodolfo Vieira doesn't have good grappling. He does have good grappling. He doesn't have good wrestling. My apologies. He has great grappling. One of those BJJ guys who, really good in BJJ, came over, didn't find much success. I think Bo's going to land that overhand. I think he's going to KO Rodolfo Vieira. And then we move down to Roman Kopylov versus Gregory Rodriguez. Now, Roman Kopylov was the favorite against Paulo Costa, and I kind of had a feeling, I kind of knew that Paulo Costa was going to beat him just because Paulo Costa does extremely well against southpaws, and Roman Kopylov is super, I don't want to say super suspect, but he's definitely defensively has some bad aspects to his game. Like the way he exits punching exchanges is very suspect. He looks at the ground a little bit, he covers up, and I think he can get hit here. And I think Gregory Rodriguez, if he's going to be able to hit you even once, if he hits you, I think you're going to fall down. I think you're going to crumble. I think Roman Kopylov, he's fast twitch, he's pretty good. But I think Gregory Rodriguez is just going to land that big punch, drop him. I mean, Gregory Rodriguez, in that first round against Jared Cannonier, he looked really good. He dropped Jared Cannonier not once, but twice. And this is a 3-round fight, so both these guys have kind of suspect gas tanks. But I think that Gregory Rodriguez has a slightly better gas tank, and he also has better output, better grappling. We kind of saw some decent grappling from Roman Kopylov against Cesar Almeida, who's a great kickboxer. But Gregory Rodriguez, I don't think will get taken down. I think he's going to keep it standing. I think he's going to land that big shot, drop Kopylov, and finish him. And yeah, that's what I think. Now, moving down, we have our ladies, Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. Now, as all you guys know, we all love WMMA. And if you love WMMA, you don't need me to break down this fight. You need me to tell you what it is straight to your face. And I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm telling you, Tracy Cortez is going to win by decision. I think that's all we need to say. She's also bad as hell. I think she's very pretty. And I want to see her win. But if she loses, my shoulder's always here for you to cry on. My shoulder's always here for you to cry on. Moving down, we have Malcolm Wellmaker versus Cody Haddon. Now, Malcolm Wellmaker, undefeated prospect. And a lot of people have been saying that he's kind of this O'Malley 2.0, Peyton Tabit 2.0. He's beaten guys who, Peyton Tabit has beaten in Cameron Simon. He's beaten guys who O'Malley has beaten in the one guy with the green hair. But you look at Malcolm Wellmaker's game, he's very over-reliant on that left hook or even the right hook, but mostly that left hook. He goes up top with that left hook, goes to the body with that left hook, and he has a lot of power in that left hook, but sometimes he's not able to put guys away with it with one shot. And if you're throwing all your power into the left hook, if it doesn't land over the course of one round, if it doesn't land over the course of 2 rounds, you will slow down, and that left hook you're relying on won't work as much. Now, Malcolm Wellmaker was working construction before this fight, and we all know construction is one of the best bases for MMA. Demetrius Johnson, right? He worked construction. You even look at Merab, he worked construction. Malcolm Wellmaker is fairly good power, but Cody Haddon is no joke, my brother. This guy is no joke. He's actually fairly good. I believe he came off Dana White Contender Series where he looked really good. He's very fundamental striking, fundamental boxing, fundamental grappling, fundamental clinch. He's kind of extremely well-rounded. He doesn't really excel anywhere specifically, fighting out of Australia, so these Australian guys are really, really good. Now, Cody Haddon, you know, I think he's being underestimated here. I think a lot of people are thinking that Malcolm Wellmaker will get a finish, but Cody Haddon, he can get dirty. He can land these big shots. He can take you down. He can force a clinch and make it boring. And I think he's a little bit more well-rounded. I think he's a little bit more skilled than Malcolm Wellmaker, but the power does lie on the side of Malcolm Wellmaker. But if I were to pick this fight, I'd probably still go Malcolm Wellmaker, even with all the things I said. But I just wouldn't be surprised if Cody Haddon wins the decision. Malcolm Wellmaker just relies on that hook, and I don't know if he's going to be able to land that hook to the chin of Cody Haddon. He has a really good chin. Pretty good grappling as well, might I add, for Cody Haddon. But I will go Malcolm Wellmaker. But it's only like a 55-45 for Malcolm Wellmaker. Cody Haddon could surprise a lot of people, steal a little bit of the hype of Malcolm Wellmaker, but sometimes you just got to go with the plot armor of a lot of these hyped prospects. Now, moving down to the early prelims, we have Kyle Dawkins versus GM3. Now, this one's pretty obvious, guys. We're going GM3 via flying armbar to an omoplata, to a Kimura, to an armbar, breaks the arm, takes the back, chokes out Kyle Dawkins, then wakes him back up, stands him up, knocks him out on the feet, and then hits a spinning wheel kick to knock him down once again. Just kidding. Joe Mearshart is super freaking slow. Super slow. Look at the Brad Tavares fight. This guy looked like he was moving in 0.25 speed. He's pretty mid. Good grappling, but he's not like the best grappler in the division. He's jiu-jitsu, but he's kind of not the best at jiu-jitsu. He had a grappling match with Craig Jones, but he got submitted in the very first round. He's a Chamaya victim, and his chin is very bad. He backs up straight. You know, he doesn't use any lateral movement. And let me look at my notes here. He's very predictable. His chin's up. And Kyle Dawkins, he had an original stunt in the UFC where he actually looked really good. You know, he fought Brendan Allen. He fought Kevin Holland. He also fought Phil Hawes. And in Kevin Holland, I believe he submitted him and he knocked him down, but the knockdown was a headbutt, so it ended up being a no contest. He got cut from the UFC after a couple losses. Then he came back and he beat Michel Pereira. And when I look at his fights, you know, he's very slick. He has a very British style of striking, like a very Mike Bisping-esque style of striking, very loose, very flowy. I feel like he had some confidence issues in his first UFC stunt, but ever since he's come back, he's built his confidence on the regional scene. And I think he's going to be able to chin Gerald Mearshart with something that Gerald Mearshart doesn't see coming. His reaction time is really bad. Doesn't see shots coming, and Kyle Dawkins can land. He's loose. I think he's going to get a first-round finish over Gerald Mearshart. TKO. Pat Sabatini versus Shepe Mariscal, one fight below that one. And Shepe Mariscal, I believe, is on like an 5-fight win streak in the UFC, and even on the regional scene. Dude, this guy was fighting UFC fighters on the regional scene. Like, he lost to Bryce Mitchell, lost to Steve Garcia, lost to Joe Anderson Brito. But on the regional scene, he beat Yusuf Zalal, who just come off a win over Josh Emmett. He beat Pat Sabatini already on the regional scene. He has great cardio. He has great judo. He also switched gyms to Las Vegas, so now he's training with Marab, and he's getting some real good work in with some real good training partners. And Pat Sabatini, you know, he got brutally KO'd by Diego Lopez, which, you know, that win hasn't aged bad. It's a pretty good, well-waged in. He also beat Joe Anderson Brito. He's fairly bouncy on his feet. He has good takedown timing, good control, but he has a very 2016-esque style with the feint the takedown, go for the overhand, feint the takedown, shoot a takedown. And I think at the lighter weight classes, it might work for guys like Bo Nickel at the higher weight classes, but at these lower weight classes in bantamweight, when you're fighting guys who has really good grappling, who aren't afraid of that takedown because they know they could reverse the position, I think Shepe Mariscal is going to win. I think he's going to win a decision against him. Now, moving down to Fatima Klein versus Angela Hill. Again, WMMA, so we all know this. We all love watching this. We have all seen every single one of Angela Hill's fights. We've all seen every single one of Fatima Klein's fights, so I don't need to break down their previous fights. I'm going with the good old reliable 41-year-old Angela Hill, guys. That's what I'm going with. Now, Eric McConaughey versus Bagsangur Sursurkayev. Now, I'm going with Bagsur Sursurkayev to win by KO. When Eric McConaughey fights guys who are lower level than him, he doesn't look bad, but when he fights guys who are higher level than him, like Nursultan Ruziboyev, he crumbles. He looks like an NPC. Also, when he fights, he kind of fights like Khalil Roundtree. He's not confident in the way he fights. And Bagsur Sursurkayev coming off a win over Eric Nolan, who was a 170er. He got a little cocky in that fight. He got clipped, but then he ended up getting the takedown, getting the submission. And then even on Dana White's Contender Series before that, he won this year. In that fight, he went to the body with a teep, and he finished his opponent. He's also a training partner of Chimaev, comes from Russia, from Chechnya. He used to be a soccer player. He used to play soccer, and then it was like 2019. He started training MMA, and I think having that athleticism at 185, where guys aren't the most athletic, I think will be a very key aspect to having his game. I think he's going to KO Eric McConaughey. I think he's going to teep him to the body. I think he's going to hurt him to the body, and then I think he's going to come up top and finish him on the feet with the hands. But yeah, guys, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this card. Who do you want to win? Who do you think will win? Especially that main card. Do you want Islam to win? I want Islam to win. And do you think Islam will win? I think Islam will win. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this card down below in the comment section, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Comment, like, subscribe. Thank you guys. It's been your boy Dag MMA signing out. Peace.